Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for joining. My name is Sarah and I make a video about once a week about beauty, skincare, that type of thing. And I do this just for fun as a hobby. So yeah, I'm glad that you joined me today. And so I've been seeing some videos that people have been doing recently, kind of going through their collections, doing some inventory, taking stock, and then kind of like rating products in certain categories. So I did a video months and months ago where I did a ranking of all of my eyeshadow palettes, and that's literally where I did like my number one favorite, best one, all the way to least favorite or like the worst one. And I just feel like actually ranking them doesn't really work well for other products in other categories. So instead today, I'm just going to do a overall like rating system, and I'm going to be doing it for all the blushes I have in my collection. So just so that you know the rating system, I'm going to have 5 levels, but honestly, it's really going to be 4. The first and top level is top tier. Like this is a super high performing favorite blush that I reach for very consistently and like has never done me wrong. The next one down is pretty good. So this is a blush where, you know, I enjoy using it. I do reach for it often, but it just doesn't quite hit the same spot as one of those top tier blushes. Then I'm just gonna have average, and that's where, you know, they perform well. I generally like the color, but maybe, you know, if I had a choice, I still would choose something else. But, you know, it works really well. It might work really well for someone else as well. Then we have won't repurchase. So these are ones where I won't necessarily declutter them from my collection, but I'm not really interested in ever repurchasing them or even trying like a different shade from that line if there are other shades, so that kind of thing. And then the last category technically would be like, why did I buy this? I need to declutter. But honestly, I have been really good with maintaining my collection, I would say over the past year or two. So I usually do declutters regularly, like maybe once a quarter or every 4 to 6 months. So I really don't keep a lot of things in my collection that I'm like, why do I have this? I need to get rid of it. I'm pretty consistent about clearing those things out. So I actually don't have anything in that bottom level today for the rating system, which is great. But yeah, I just thought I would share because I do have blushes of all varieties, drugstore, high-end, powder, cream, liquid. It just kind of runs the gamut. So that's why I thought maybe doing a rating system was better than ranking. So if you want to see how I rate all of the blushes currently in my collection, then just keep watching. Okay, so I think I'm gonna work bottom up. So we're gonna start with that lowest tier that we're using today, which is the I won't repurchase, and then work our way up to the top tier, so saving the best for last. So I have 2 of my blushes in this bottom category. And again, this doesn't mean that I think these are like the worst blushes I've ever used. They're just kind of like, I have in my collection, I'll use them when I feel like it, but honestly, like I'm not going to repurchase or try other colors from them probably. And then, you know, maybe one day they'll be pushed down enough to where I would declutter them. So the first is the e.l.f. Luminous Putty Blush. And this is fine. It's a very bright color. I got like the super bright color in the summertime. I don't remember what color this actually is. Isla del Sol. So I got this kind of because in the summer I was in the phase where I was like, I want the bright pops of color on my cheeks, like the oranges and the bright pinks and everything. And this, it is a bright color. It just kind of is, it comes down a lot to the packaging. It is very hard to get in there and really swirl a brush around to pick up the product. And then on top of that, I feel like the formula is like quite waxy, if that makes sense, like and very stiff. So it's just hard to kind of get it on there. I wish it was a little more emollient and blendable. I generally like the color okay, but the packaging and everything just kind of turned me off from even wanting to try a different shade from here. So like I was like, if I want a cream blush, there's literally so many others I can try instead that have bigger pans and might be easier to get in and grab. But in general, like these are pretty affordable and cheap, so you can't go wrong there. But yeah, this is one where like it's fine, but I'm not, you know, impressed or excited to use it always. This other one I've had in my collection for quite a while now, and I do like it. It's just kind of been pushed down the more that I've tried other blushes, and they've kind of begun to outrank this one. And this is a glowish blush, which was or is a like sub-brand of Huda Beauty. And I have it in Milky Rose. So it's this like swirly blush. And again, it's pretty, it's fine. I think it's just, if you see, there is so much of the peach and very little of the pink that it just kind of makes a weird color. So I think if there was more of the pink and less of the peach, it would show up better and be a little more pigmented. But in general, it does give like a nice soft blush look, but that's just not something I'm reaching for a ton. So I don't really use this very often anymore. I used it a crap ton when I first got it because I think, you know, when you get something you're excited and then you're like, let me try and make it work in all these different ways. So I do pull it out sometimes like in the summer or winter if I'm going really more for that like peachy look. But even so, I feel like it doesn't even quite pull peachy. So it's this weird color combination where I'm like, is it peach? Is it pink? It doesn't know. So that's another one where and again, like same with the e.l.f. one. I feel like the pan is like quite small. So it's kind of hard to get like a big fluffy blush brush in there. So again, not my favorite. I don't hate it enough to declutter it, but these just kind of stay at the bottom of the list for now. Okay, so if we move to like kind of that middle tier, which is like, these are average. They're better than those two at the bottom, but they're still not quite like good or like super impressive. But I do like them and I do pull for them on certain occasions for specific reasons. So the first one I have is from Merit Beauty, and it's one of their little, I don't even know what these are called, a like blush balm type thing. And this is in a darker shade. This is the shade Fox. So I do like this for the shade. It is very different than any other blush color I have in my collection. And this is definitely better for like winter months. But in general, again, it kind of gave me the same as the e.l.f. one a little bit. Like it kind of feels a little waxy, and I've tried it different ways of applying. At first I did it like directly on my cheek and that was just a little too streaky. I've done where I just dipped my brush in there and that works okay, and then I sometimes will do where I'll rub it on my hand and then pick it up with a brush, and that usually seems to work the best. But in general, it's fine, and I think these are like kind of pricey for what they are and for like, you know, the products that you get. So because of that, I'm like, this is average. Like if there was some sort of holiday set, or, you know, I have been kind of toying with the idea of buying the Merit like essentials starter kit on their website and kind of making a video testing out a lot more of their products. And, you know, if a blush came in there, I would choose a different color and try it. So I'm not closed off to that. It's just, you know, it's an average performing blush. And at the end of the day, for the price and for what it is, it's just average. This next one, my packaging is very dirty on this. This next one, I struggled with putting this in the pretty good or the average, but I put it in the average because of the like finish of it. So this is the Rare Beauty, one of their powder blushes in the like shimmery shade. So I have the shade Cheer. And I mean, it is very pretty, like don't get me wrong, but it is also super specific. Like that is so shiny and shimmery that like, I'm not, you know, wearing that on a day-to-day basis. I'm not wearing that to work. It's just a really specific shade. And I have some other, like 2 or 3 other shimmery-ish blushes in my collection, but they're much more subtle. This is like highlighting blush, which I know that's what it was going in. Like I knew that's what I was buying, but it's just like, whoa. So I would say that this is, I'm putting it in the average mostly because I just don't pull for it all the time. If I want to highlight, I usually pull out a highlighter, not a highlighting blush. So this is like kind of like a blush topper in a sense, which I do use sometimes in the summer. It's really pretty, like when I have a tan, to add that extra glow. So it's great for that. But I think since it has such a specific use for me and my purposes, I just put it in the average. I wouldn't be opposed to potentially trying another shade of this, but since it's so specific, I just don't see a need for like adding more of this to my collection at this point in time. So the next blushes that I chose to include, they kind of are an anomaly. So they're riding the line between average and pretty good. And that's because they're in a palette. They're in one of my Hourglass palettes. This is the only Hourglass palette I've left. I fully panned my other Hourglass palette like 2 or 3 years ago on Project Pan. This is the Ambient Lighting Edit. So there are 2 blushes in here, this one and this one. This is Mood Exposure, and that's the Vibrant blush. So these are riding the line between average and pretty good, mostly because they're in the palette, and I need to be better about reaching for the palette. When I use this palette, I bring it sometimes when I travel. I enjoy all of the products in here. They all work really well, but I think I have learned about myself, I'm not a face palette person. I gotta stop buying them. They're beautiful, but you can see most of these look relatively untouched. I just don't pull for them very often. But I do think that if I had these in their own single pans, I would use them a lot more. Because unlike the Rare Beauty, these are some of the ones that are a little shimmery, but they are like more wearable and everyday than the super duper shimmer. So that is why I'm gonna put these in the average to pretty good. I do like that I have 2 shades in here, and they're very different. So like this is something very different than anything else I have in my collection for blush. So I do really enjoy that. So I would say these kind of are more the pretty good than the average, but just because of how little I use them. And you know, if they were like these top tier stellar products, it wouldn't matter if they were in this packaging. I would pull it out all the time just to use these blushes, and I'm not doing that. So that's why they're kind of riding the line between the average and the pretty good. So maybe that's cheating, but I don't really care. Okay, so let's move on to the pretty darn good category. So these are the ones where they are like so close to being top tier, but you know, they've just been edged out a little bit by the ones above them. So 2 that I have are the Essence, the blush. I have 2 shades. I have Befitting and Believing, Befitting, Believing. And I just think for the price, these are like phenomenal. These are like $3. I think I actually got one of them on sale one time at Ulta. It was like $1.50. Like that is just like unheard of in today's world to get something that's actually decent quality for that price. And I just think, you know, they're pigmented, they blend well, and you know, the packaging's a little flimsy, but it's held up so far. And I've really enjoyed both of these. I pull these out all the time. So I just really, really enjoy these, and I am open to adding more colors to my collection. I've just been kind of holding back because I have a lot of blushes, but these are ones where I definitely feel like I could justify adding more colors because they are so affordable and they work really well. So these I highly recommend. Like, keep your eye out at Ulta. Like, these are such a steal and just perform really well for what they are. The other one I have in this category is another Rare Beauty product, and this is one of their melting blushes, and I have it in Nearly Neutral. This I absolutely love. It's just not quite top tier because, you know, the formula sometimes is a little, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say like too emollient, but sometimes it's like so slippery that like I've got to be careful. So this is a really great product for when I'm doing like a no makeup day. So this works really well for me in spring and summer. I use it all the time. Like you can see, I've just like, the edge is pretty dirty. But yeah, I really enjoy this. And I think this color, I mean, it's called Nearly Neutral. So it goes with everything. It just adds the perfect amount of little flush and, you know, complements my skin color, I think. So I really like this, and I have this as pretty good. It's not quite top tier because, again, I'm not pulling for it all the time. I'm not like, you know what I really want? That cream Rare Beauty blush. Like, that's not what goes through my mind all the time. But I would be open to maybe trying another color in this and just seeing what that performance is like and what it looks like compared to this one. Okay, so now we are ready for the top tier products. And as I was kind of putting these into their rating categories, I was like, wow, 3 of the 5 blushes in my top tier are ones that I bought this year. So I don't know if some of that is just, you know, the newness and the excitement is kind of what made them this way, but I really don't think so. I have used these, all 5 of these, very consistently over the past year because I love them so much. So we'll start with the ones that are newer to me. And I bought, I think, all of these this summer, or like spring and summer. So the first one I'll talk about is the e.l.f. Liquid Camo Blush. And this one I think is top tier because it just really took me by surprise. It's an e.l.f. product, which I'm not saying e.l.f. is bad and can't be top tier, but that's just never quite my expectation from them. I'm always like, this is going to be pretty good for what it is. And you know, I feel like the color in the packaging doesn't look like much. It looks pretty basic, pretty neutral, but this is the shade Peach Perfect. And there's just something about it when it goes on, it just becomes this like brighter peach color, and I cannot explain it, but it looked so great in the summer, especially. Again, not something I would normally think to pull for when I'm more tan, but this just like really brightened and I feel like lifted my cheeks when I would use this. And I mean, it just was so pretty. Like, I don't think there's shimmer in here. It's pretty matte, but like there was just something about it that was so like surprising, but like in a good way. I was like, how is this so brightening? Like, that is not what this packaging, what this tube looks like, but it was just so light and bright, and it blended super well, played well with my other makeup, didn't look streaky. I just like was so impressed with this, and I used this like a ton this summer. So really enjoy this, highly recommend, and I would be open to trying more colors. Another one that I got this year that I had to like force myself to stop using so that I would use other things was the Rare Beauty liquid blush, and I got it in the shade Hope. I just got the little mini one that they have at Sephora. And again, like I said, I just had to like stop myself from using this all the time, because similar to that e.l.f. one, there was just something about it, like a little goes a long way, which is great when you have a small package, but it just like, it blended so well. It brought like the perfect little flush to my cheeks, and it just looked so seamless and smooth. And again, I was just so impressed with this. And I have other things in my collection from Rare Beauty, and like I said, I've generally liked them, but none of the other ones are in the top tier category, but this made the cut. So if you can get your hands on the small one, I definitely think that's the way to go. I think this is like $12 or $14, and a little goes a long way. So this is like plenty to last for a long time. The other one that I used a ton this summer and into fall, and I still reach for it occasionally, it was the Tower 28 Happy Hour blush in Beach Please, I think, or the Beach Please blush in Happy Hour. I can't remember what order that goes in. This, again, also kind of took me by surprise. I've been really wanting to try a Tower 28 blush, cream blush, for a long time because I had heard such great things. And I just kind of went for it on this one. I was like, you know, I'm going to get a bright pink. I don't have any other super bright pinks in my collection. I'm just going to try it. And similar to these two, so impressed. Blends super well, looks great, adds that nice color and brightness to my cheeks. Very summery, so great. And I think this will also kind of be a nice pop of color in the winter potentially, if that's a look I go for. But yeah, just so impressed, and I really want to try other shades from this Tower 28 line. I just am so impressed with how this one works that I just feel like getting maybe like a more neutral or an everyday one will just be absolutely amazing. So hopefully I can get my hands on one of those soon. So earlier when I was talking about that Rare Beauty like highlighting blush, I was saying I have other blushes in my collection that are shimmery and glowy, but just, you know, are maybe more subtle and wearable. And really what I was referring to was my Milani Luminoso blush. I mean, OG blush on YouTube, the beauty world, whatever, but like this truly does stand the test of time. This has been around for so long, and it is still a top ranking blush, and so that just goes to show like it's worth it. They got it right the first time. So I've kind of leveled off my dome a little bit, as you can see, but it's just that nice peachy glow, and this is one where I feel like it looks more glowy in the pan than what it ends up being on the skin, because it kind of can sheer out. And again, looks super great in the spring and summer when you have a tan, and it just adds that nice glowy peach look. And I just absolutely love this blush and highly recommend everyone should like own this. It's just like such a staple, and it's a good option. Like, I don't always want a super matte blush. Sometimes I want the glow, but I don't want to be from a separate highlighter. So this is just like that perfect combination of color and glow. And then similarly, I've talked this one to death before. Similar to that Milani Luminoso one in terms of like that perfect mix of color and glow is my Bare Minerals bronzer in Kiss of Pink. This I am like freaking obsessed with. I just think the shade is like my absolute perfect shade of blush, and it just always looks so good. Like no matter what look I have done on my eyes or lip color, like this just goes with it. It just elevates the look, brings everything together, and I just feel like it looks so great every time I wear it. But yeah, super great. It took me a while to get on this train because, you know, they came out and everyone was obsessed with the bronzers, and I was like, I don't get it. It's basically a blush, which I still think it's a blush. I don't know why this is called a bronzer. I mean, I do, like they were going with like, oh, you don't need bronzer when you have this, but I'm like, I'm not putting this where I would put bronzer. I'm gonna put it where I put blush. But this is Kiss of Pink, and I really would like to try the Kiss of Copper. So that is also part of my top tier ranking. Like I would love to own like all of them. And I think that that would be amazing. They're kind of expensive, but I think they are worth every penny. But yeah, that is all of my blushes rated in my collection. I hope you enjoyed and that this gave you some information on maybe how I feel about some of the blushes, or how maybe you would feel about some of the blushes, and maybe, you know, inspire you to either purchase or not purchase certain ones or certain lines. That's always helpful to me. I think this is a better system than trying to rank them, because especially with blushes, there's so many formulas and finishes. I couldn't have actually like ranked them because they just are not all equally able to be ranked. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you're curious, the one I am wearing on my cheeks today, I'm wearing the Essence the blush in Believing. So that is what I have on today. And then if you're interested in my eye look, I used the Twilight ColourPop palette to create kind of this smokier look. And I did do a little tutorial a couple weeks ago where I made like a bright green look using that palette. So I will link that below if you want to check that out. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. I will have my rankings listed in the, in the section below. And yeah, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified of all of my new videos when I post them. And I will see you next time. Bye.